Good afternoon, one and all. Sorry we're late. I had issues at my end trying to sort the sound out, but we're here. We're here. So welcome, one and all. I have Chris from Meta Football TV with me today. Um, you're on mute, Chris. There we go.
Hi,
So I have
hello
Chris.
everyone. Thanks for having me.
How are you, Chris, mate?
Oh, I'm knackered. Just come back from footy with my son, training, coaching, and just had a quick bite to eat, and I'm all yours. So
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, you've been waiting for me. I think you've rushed
no,
back to get back for the show, and it's
no.
taken me 20 minutes to sort out the bloody tech issues that I had. So I'm really sorry. And it wasn't
No,
my
no,
end. It wasn't my end. It wasn't at your end. So,
no, no.
but we're
That's
here,
fine.
everyone. We're here. So, as the thumbnail says, it's the day after the Crystal Palace game, and I have my points of view. Chris
Yeah,
will obviously have his points of view. Um, I I will say this now to everyone so you're aware that I watch football and I watch it through my eyes. Chris watches it through his eyes, like you all do as fans. And we all have different opinions on yesterday's match. I've tried my best and I have stayed away from watching other people's match reactions and that. Um, because it you know I won't let it cloud my judgment, and I don't want to get into no, you're wrong, you're right, you're wrong. Everyone has opinions, so therefore I just felt, in the cold light of day after the game, we're now what nearly um we're nearly 22 hours after the event or something like that, or 18 hours, 20 hours after the event. So
yeah.
yeah, my thoughts haven't changed much on what I thought yesterday. However, I thought to myself, worth doing the stream today to tell people where I'm at with my thoughts. And there's some of you lovely people that are in here may want to know how you're doing in your in your predictions. Although I can't bring the stuff up because Colin brings it up in the background, and I can't bring it up, but I can verbally tell you where people are before today's game kicks off. Some people have done really well. I've got to say that some people have done really well. Um, some people have done middle of the road. All I can say is that everybody that entered has scored points. I think the top point earners are on 9 at the moment, and we've got ranging from 1 point to 9 points. So let me say hello to people in the chat, and then we can get the show kicking off. So you've got Mark Cook, who was here earlier, saying big up Jose, hope you're well. Tot Spurs is Jose all Coys, and it was so this was a while ago that these people were on. Paul G, big up Jose and those in the chat. A beautifully sunny day in London, Coys. Chris Peters, good afternoon, Jose. Then we had the people. It don't look like Eltel's making an appearance. Mark Cook, are you there, Eltel? I was trying to adjust microphones. Ellie's coming. You're late, mate. Still waiting at 1:15 p.m. And as the song goes, Jose, why are we waiting? I'll tell you why. Because you're worth waiting for. That's why.
Oh,
Daniel Lee, good afternoon. Daniel says lateness is greatness. Chris apologising for the tech issues because he knew what was going on in the background. Ellie saying, I forgive you, get Bobby K's cousin to sort the tech issues out. Chris, when he knew that we were going to go, said, let's go. Uh, good afternoon, Barbaric. Jose's timekeeping is about as reliable as Royale's defending. Um, Gabon, my brothers from Sanchez, Bethnal Green, and Dakaru's joined us saying, hi all. Hi, Dakaru. Right. In that case, right. So let's get into it. Yesterday, Chris,
yeah.
for you, tell me about yesterday.
Uh, what the match you mean, or my
Yeah,
life?
the match, the match. It says
Oh, right.
I've put up positive or negative. What are your thoughts on it?
Um, Bit of a mixed bag, but because I'm going to get into my point of view technically and tactically, more tactically than technically, um, I think that it was very positive, to be honest. I understand that from a from a fan point of view, and I'm a fan as well, of course, and I get frustrated, and I know that things go down the pan pretty quickly, and if things don't go to our liking, we get frustrated and we get angry. And like if for example last week we had a really great match and everything was buzzing, and this week we're and why can't we score a goal, and why can't Werner be better, and why is Sonny brilliant because he scored a one-touch goal, and things aren't always 2D. Things do not always work and function on all pistons. At the end of the day, they're human beings, and at the end of the day, I'm sure that lovely people in the chat and all around the world know that you can take photos with these people and they're humans. You can touch them and they're flesh and bone. They don't always work 100%. They're not machines, right? Tactically, things do not work out the way we want them to work out, right? And it's not just as easy and cut and dry as people think, right? Palace played really well for 60, 70 minutes. You've got a team that are going to play to their strengths, to their forte, because if they weren't there, we'd be playing on our own against each other, and we'll be winning 99-98, right? Do you know what I mean? So they've got their strengths, they've got their weaknesses, so do we. But for me, at the end of the day, we've beaten a mid-low block hybrid team that has got a manager that's just come in, and they did pretty well, to be honest, away from home. And we got frustrated as a fan base, but we got 3 points, which at the end of the day is really what it's all about. The team learned that it's not going to be kick a ball around, score 27 goals and win a game, because we're going to have opponents that have sorted, that have kind of learned how to play against Ange and his tactical setup, and that's what they're going to do against us. Not sure Villa are going to play like that. I'm not sure Liverpool are going to play like that, or Man City or Arsenal, because they're free-flowing teams. Their tactical setup is totally different. But other teams that are not as free-flowing are going to do that against us. So yesterday was a learning curve. It was a very good chance for us to be able to overcome these hurdles. And for me, it was a positive day for Spurs. So for me, it was positive.
So, right, my view on it. Sorry, I'm just going to send this out.
No, sure. Oh, and please leave your comments in the chats if you think I'm a babbling buffoon. That always helps as well, because I learn from you as well. I'm not the Bible. I'm not, the oracle of football. I have my views, as Jose said. I am a coach, right? I do not linger on that. I'm not the be all and end all of football, but I do know my stuff. I have played football, and I do have my views. So, but leave your comment as well, so that we can have, we can banter, give the chat life, give the program life, smash the likes, subscribe, and give Jose what he deserves, which is love and respect.
So my view on it, positive or negative, I found the whole experience yesterday to be positive. I'm not looking at any negative whatsoever for yesterday. I watched what I saw yesterday from watching the game on a watch along and having to then describe to people what was going on. First experience. I thought the watch along went really well. Thank you to everyone who joined us yesterday for the watch along. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't think I would, but I did. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I watched the first 10 minutes, how quickly we were moving the ball. But throughout the whole of that first half, what I saw is what happens. I saw people or teams coming to us, and there's a way that they're going to play against us at our stadium. And a lot of these teams haven't got the quality that we've got and will play like this at their stadiums. So they will look like an away side, even though they're at home, right? But what I saw is us from the very first kick, from the kickoff. I saw us even from the back in our build-up play. Sometimes it was fast, sometimes it was slowed down. But what we tried to do, and I saw green shoots of this all around the pitch yesterday, is we tried to create overflows. We tried to create spaces. We tried to maneuver their players around the pitch to suit us, to get us into positions. And yes, people get frustrated. And I'm one of those that, gets frustrated as well. But I think our frustration, in all honesty, is born out of where we actually are in the league. Because we are where we are in the league, and a lot of the fan base thought at the start of the season we would never be as high as this because we'd lost Harry Kane on the eve of the kickoff, and just come in. You know, people were saying like he's got a free hit this year. We'll do well to finish in the top eight. We're going to lose 30 Harry Kane goals. We're going to be fighting relegation. You heard all sorts of different things coming from our fellow brothers and sisters out there as fans, and I think that because we've probably, in some people's eyes, overachieved, not in everybody's, but in some people's eyes, they'll believe that we've overachieved. And therefore, because we sit in fifth, a game in hand, 2 points off Villa, regardless that we play them this weekend, because of where we are, there could well be a gap between us and the teams behind us. You know, people get frustrated because we're not going out and doing what the Arsenals are doing and scoring 26 goals in 6 league games. We're not going out and beating teams like Liverpool have done, although I think yesterday's game was really dubious. And to be honest, I compare. I was watching what we did yesterday, and I watched Brentford Man City, and I alluded to this in the watch along, and I said, you know, the only difference is the kit that we wear to Man City and the kit that Brentford wore to Palace. I watched Manchester City struggle to break down Brentford with a low block for 70 minutes. I watched that, and you know, at the end of the day, we kind of people say we struggled because we didn't score till late on the game. I actually thought we'd done a lot of really good things yesterday, in the sense of I could see the green shoots of we're trying to break teams down. We were moving their players around, and it was easy to see. I mean, I watched it on a stream that Colin gave us yesterday, and it seemed to be a really good stream, and it gave us a really good view of the pitch, and now we were moving players around. Oh, look at that. He's done it as well. Thank you very much. I'm going to say thank you to Brian. Brian has sent people from Tottenham away to me. Not everyone will come, but thank you very much, Brian. It's much appreciated. So, therefore, when we're saying positive and negative, I saw green shoots. I saw some really positive things yesterday. It is tactical and it is a technical game. We all know this. But I just think, to me, as I said, my opinion is that I watched people yesterday go absolutely mad and be really negative about the performance when I saw a lot of green shoots, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree.
So Brian's been so kind to send people our way. So thank you very much, Brian. We've got Stay Humble saying big up Jose and guest Coys. By Barrett saying having a 2 week break with no football is not easy either. You can train all you want, but you are not up to match speed without regular games. There is so Stay Humble saying the only negatives yesterday was Bentancur being sloppy. Are you saying he's sloppy because of the challenge that he made that led to the free kick? Is that what you're saying about being sloppy? Because possession wise, we were quite good in possession, and I can read out the stats. You got Mark Spurs GCT. Good afternoon, mate. Hi guys, hope you're well. You've got a Yid Army coming in from Mark Cook. And Stay Humble saying at least we are grinding out wins Jose or Conte would have lost. You've got Tottenham on tour raid from Chris Agenbar. Hi Chris, how are you, mate? You've got Ugly Fish, Coys. Hi Ugly Fish, nice to see you. Ellie saying, here you are. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, we did explain why. Big up La Familia Daniel. Thank you very much for joining. And Spurs GCT says, for me, far more positives from yesterday. 70 minutes were hard work, but we controlled possession with the back seven defence. We persisted and found a way. So, I mean, Chris, I'm looking at the stats for yesterday because there's a lot of people that are going to talk to me about or talk about stats, and it's interesting because either you're forward with your stats, right, or so when you speak about a match, right, or when people generally speak, if it suits the narrative, do you see what I mean? If it suits the narrative, people are going to come up with stats. If it suits the narrative for positive, and they'll come out with stats if it suits the narrative for negative. David Shears here saying Andrew Rage. Good afternoon, David. And Sanchez is saying afternoon, Chris, to you.
Buenas tardes. Right. Hello. Good afternoon.
DMB forever. Happy with the win. Just disappointed we started really playing after conceding. Which I don't think, DB, because as I said, I saw us playing from the first half, and from the minute we kicked off, just the view that I got from the stream that I could see the whole pitch and how we were developing playing that, And as I said earlier, from the kickoff, first 10 minutes, our passing was really, really quick. Then our passing slowed down. But what we were doing is we were trying to pull their players out of positions. And as I've already alluded to me, we just wore a different colour kit to Manchester City when they played Brentford, and Crystal Palace as an opponent wore a different colour kit to Brentford. Manchester City for 70 minutes struggled to break down Brentford. It's only when they got their goal that the game then opened up, and they created more chances, but they still only won 1-0. So I mean, looking at the stats yesterday, Chris, right?
Yeah.
We had 14 shots to Crystal Palace's 4.
Yeah.
We had 6 on target to their 1. The possession was 79% to us, 21% to Palace. We completed 818 passes to Palace's 226.
Yep.
We had a passing accuracy of 89% to Crystal Palace's 69%. We conceded 7 fouls, Palace conceded 16. We had 1 yellow card, they had 2. We had 2 offsides, and that's with Werner in the team, only 2 offsides. And they had 5. And we had 11 corners to their 1. So when people want to suit their narrative with stats, I'm not doing it to suit a narrative. I'm just showing that these are the stats from yesterday's game. These are facts. These are just stats from yesterday's game, and we can look at all the stats from every single game, But to me, as I said, I saw lots. I saw lots yesterday to be positive about. I really did.
Yeah. I mean, there is a stat here that I'm not sure where you get your stats from, but I'm looking at here of dangerous. Right, we had attacks 151, right, and of those 151 attacks, 105 were dangerous. All right. Now, yeah, you call it suit your narrative. I call it cognitive dissonance, right? Which is the psychological term. It suit your narrative. You only see what you want to see, and in the way you see it, right? Now, you allude to Brentford, Man City, right? Brentford normally play a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3, depending on, right? But Palace yesterday, they played almost with like 9 players behind the ball.
Yeah, 5-4-1 they played yesterday.
Yeah, right. On paper, they played a 3-5-2, I think it was. But whenever you play that low block, you've got so many players behind the ball. And to counter-attack, you're going to have at least 2, maybe 3, depending on. But anyway, that's, neither here nor there. But to have 105 dangerous attacks, right? Dangerous attacks against a low block or a mid-low block hybrid, which is what they played, right? Now, let me explain if people just don't understand what a mid block is. A mid block is whenever you force your opponent down the wings, right? And a low block is you've got all of the space covered in the mid and in the low, like as in down the flanks as well. So they played a mid-low block hybrid, which is extremely difficult to play against if you don't have your creative players 100% tip-top shape and you're moving the ball from here to there and you're constantly bringing them out of position, right? And Spurs don't use the flanks. They don't overlap, right? We don't normally overlap. Why? Because we play inverted wingers. Wing backs or fullbacks, whatever you want to call them. So we don't normally overlap. We get the ball to Kulu and he comes in. We get the ball to Werner, he comes in, right? Or sometimes we cross, but we don't normally cross, right? So normally we play the ball back across the area and we either shoot or counter-attack. And what happened yesterday with Sonny's goal, etc., etc. Okay? Or that brilliant ball into Werner that didn't materialize in a goal on a one-on-one with Johnston, which was brilliant. Okay, by the way, it was brilliant play. But that's the only way you're going to beat a low block. Make them play high, and you can ball over the top or through the lines, and that's brilliant. But Palace played absolutely brilliantly, right, defensive-wise, okay? So for us to even have 105 dangerous attacks against that tactical setup, right, people, they have to understand that was absolutely amazing to do, right? Whether we get frustrated, whether we want more, whether we want to score 7 goals a game, it doesn't always work that way, right? Plus, we don't have the actual players. We don't have a Haaland in the team. You just, chip it over the defense and he can just, nod it over the keeper or whatever. We don't have that. So we have to make do with what we have. But 151 attacks, and 105 of those 151 were dangerous, despite all of the frustration and the crappy play and the negativity that a lot of our fans and a lot of what I was watching yesterday, in the watch along, were churning out. And of course, I respect everybody, but if you take that into consideration, when we've got our heads are cooler now, right? That is to be respected from our players, and I think they deserve it. 151 attacks, 105 of those were dangerous. That is to applaud, right? Against a good Palace team that have only been 2 or 3 matches, maybe with Glasner as their manager. At the end of the day, as I said before, they're not machines, they're players. And to do that on both sides, Spurs against that mid-low block hybrid and Palace to stay 70 minutes defending away from home against Ange ball, which is not exactly Ange ball, but it's the idea is there, the philosophy is there. I applaud both teams because at the end of the day, it's football, it's their job. So I applaud it. From a football perspective, I applaud both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me just say hello to some more people. So you got Chris, Dave Shear saying good day to Chris and I. You've got Kuva, good afternoon. Kuva saying big up Senor Cockerell. You've got Ellie says, I think we had possession, but I feel we checked back too often and dilly-dally too much in the first half. The low block can be broken with movement.
It's the only way.
Ugly Fish, statistically, Spurs are a decent team. It's just us fans that are unhappy. Possibly.
Yeah.
You've got Ellie saying, our movement has to improve greatly to create openings, goal scoring, for our more creative player to find them. We're far too static that first half in regards doing.
That is true.
Mark Cook says, I've starred Spurs GCTV. Mark Cook says, first half we just didn't move the ball quickly enough. Very difficult against low block. But ball movement and player movement is imperative against it.
Yes, 100%.
Ugly Fish says, money ball. David Shear. I fell asleep. First 5 minutes of the play was so slow. I actually thought the ball movement in the first 10 minutes was quite quick. Then we slowed the ball down, our passing. But our passing in the first 10 minutes was whip. But then we slowed the passing down and we started out again.
Can I ask a question for the chat? Sorry, can I just ask a question for the chat, Jose?
Yeah, but if you're going to ask a question in the chat, put it in as a comment. And then we can ask that question. Yeah, just do it as a queue and then ask it, and then I'll put it in there.
Okay.
Why we don't overlap as Ange wants the ball across the area, or we slip it to a doggy as he has the pace to beat the low block, running, joining the attack from deep, or he brings the ball and does 1-2s. David Shear says 27 games we have scored in each game this season. I want a clean sheet, please. I do as well. So yeah, I've said to people, if you hit the like button. It helps me the show out immensely if you are that way inclined. And if you're in a good mood to help this channel out, then please subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'd be happy if you could do that. That'd be great. Ugly Fish says, hopefully when we've got the system locked in, the creative magic moments will come. Ugly Fish, I agree with every comment you've made so far. I'm in agreement with you. What I don't applaud is laziness. Some of our players were bone lazy. Messed red.
So I get the last part. What does the last part mean, Ellie?
Yeah, I didn't get the last part. Right. So I'm going to go to the first question and then we can go to the second one. So the first question is coming from Spurs GC2. He says, question, will the addition of Bergvall next season help break these blocks with his ability to dribble and drive forward? Christopher.
Was that for me, is it?
Well, I'm reading it out, so you got first dibs at it. I can have the second dibs, and so can the chat.
Oh, brilliant! And I like the Christopher thing. That's nice.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I felt loved there. Right, Bergvall is a very technical player. Right, from what I've seen of him, he's young. He's going to have to adapt to the possibly faster pace of the EPL in comparison to what he's been used to. Very high ceiling. He's got a lot of space to grow technically and tactically. But he's not going to do it from 40, 50 yards out. He's going to have to incorporate himself into the half spaces, because the half spaces is extremely important to beat low blocks, right? But he's not going to have to do that. He's not going to be able to do that on his own. He's going to have to play with the players around him, you see. And will the addition of Bergvall next season help break these? Yes. The answer is yes. But it's not going to be like a one-side. It's not going to be a tennis match, Bergvall versus a low block. It's going to be movement and the help with his other teammates as well, and not what Ellie was saying before, laziness from the other players as well. It's a team sport, and if 1, 2, 3 players are disconnected, right? We're not talking that they're technically improficient or they're not technically sound, but if they're lazy up here and they're not connected onto the movements in like a chain reaction, yeah, the rest of it breaks down. It doesn't work. You all have to be very, very connected to be able to break these low blocks down, because that's probably the hardest thing to play against, is a low block when a team is extremely defensive. If you play against Man City, is it more difficult to play against Man City, or is it difficult to play against these low blocks? I mean, I'd say against low block, because your concentration level has to be so high against these low blocks to keep pinging the ball like the shoe. You allude to the term shoehorn, Jose. I've heard you say this a lot. To do that, right, day in, day out for 70, 80 minutes until you get that break. And once you see that break, do I shoot? Do I pass? Do I move? You must be going mental, even if you've got 80% of the possession. You've got to be technically and tactically proficient to do that, very well, in order to slot that ball in, So, I mean, when you play against teams that open wide, the loads of space, that's just a Sunday walk in the park for these players, because they're all very, very similar in level. So, but yes, Bergvall will help, but he has to adapt. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I agree with everything that you said, Chris. The only things that I'll add, Spurs GCTV, is the more and more that I'm watching this season now, the more and more that I have thoughts of players that I don't think are going to fit his system going forward. And whether they go in the summer or whether they go in the following windows remains to be seen, because some players are good but don't fit the system. And one player that stands out like a sore thumb for me, unless he's going to be fighting for a position on a different part of the pitch, one player that now stands out like a sore thumb for me is Kulusevski. Kulusevski playing wide right is not the way that Ange wants to play, and he is now, unless he's going to be competing with Maddison or someone or for a number 8 slot or a 10 slot, to me, out wide right, he doesn't do it for me. He did a job for us at the start of the season, and he was the battering ram, and he played really well. But if people are going to say that, I don't know, if people are going to turn around and say that people now are all playing the same similar systems to what Brighton played against us, what Palace have played against us, what Wolves did against us, if people are now going to say this, then it means that, yeah, we need something different on the right. So I've got a feeling that I can see, but the thing is, Kulu's not a bad player, all right? Kulu ain't a bad player. Just I don't think he fits the system playing wide right. However, he can be, because he's of a high level. Kulu's not a crap player by no means, but it means that if he doesn't go this summer, then he stays and remains, because he makes the squad far better by having him.
Yeah.
But yeah. I can see a lot of players at the moment that are not going to fit the system, and I can see players, as I said, some will go in the summer because you want to get these ones out to bring other ones in far quicker. But some of the other players, I think, will stay around this year because we'll have a stronger squad for it. but possibly may go the following season unless they adapt to what Ange wants. And the one player that's sticking out for me at the moment was Kulu.
Yeah.
I said when I spoke before the game, not yesterday but Friday and stuff, I said that I felt that to play against Palace, because to beat the low blocks, you need to have people that are going to go by and go past. And I said from Friday on the show on Friday, I said that I'd want to see my front three were Werner, Son, and Johnson. So
Yeah.
Kulu didn't have. I didn't want Kulu to start in the game.
Uh,
It's all right. We can all talk about captain hindsight and stuff like that. But these comments are actually comments that I made on Friday. So it's not with hindsight. I watched the game yesterday, but it's actually what I said. And Johnson came on. Okay, people can say Johnson was fresh, but Johnson's got a lot of pace to burn. So a Johnson running for 70 minutes will still have pace after 70 minutes, where other players might knacker. Johnson's got a lot of pace in him. So, you know, at the end of the day, I'm seeing things. So Bergvall, Spurs GC2, he will be a great addition.
yeah.
He wants to play. He wants to play with the 3/8s. Bergvall is exactly that. Um, I think we all get fixated on this number 6 and this number 10 position all the time. So we're always saying, who's our 6 today and who's is Maddison a 10? He will tell you that he wants to play with 3/8s. So, you know, I can see changes being made, but Europe looks likely at the moment, and in one shape, 4 more guys. And if that's the case, then we're going to have to strengthen the squad. Although we will have a lot of youngsters there that can fill out, we'll have to strengthen the squad. So I hope that answers the question for you, Spurs GTV, on what our thoughts are. And I've got a million chats to catch up with, and then we've got a question from Chris as well.
Yeah. That's for the chat. So
yeah. First half, we just didn't move the ball quickly enough. Very difficult against low block, but ball movement and player movement is imperative against it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've read that already, didn't I? So yeah, let me come back down to here because I was here. Right. So Hasper, good afternoon, Hasper, mate. How are you? Says, why don't our wingers go on the outside? Always cutting inside, and it gives us no variation. As soon as Werner started going on the outside, second half, we actually looked threatening. I'm going to star that and come back to that as well, because Mark's saying too much sideways. David's saying that Zuma needs to chill. Ellie's asking us to get a room, Chris. I think it's when I made the Christopher comment. They can't.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, I like the contrast this season to previous seasons. We now have 70 to 80% possession compared to previous 20 or 30%. It's the first step that we need to take if we want to control games.
Yeah.
David Shear saying, so midfield has been our Achilles heel since Biss went off the ball and injuries stuffed us.
Yeah.
Trying to
start that one. Well.
Yeah, okay. Trying to pass through them is never going to work. You have to stretch them wide, be more direct, play longer balls. Don't disagree with you, Hasper. But as I said, I don't disagree. But I saw lots of green shoots. I saw lots of positives yesterday. And as I said, it's watching football through different eyes. Everyone sees it differently. The view that I got from the stream that I got yesterday showed me a hell of a lot. And I could see a lot of positive stuff going on yesterday that people may not recognize or might have seen it differently because their view was different, or the view of the game, i.e. the way that their camera setup was, might have been different. But Hasper said Kulu when I was talking, so he said Kulu as well. He says I'm spot on about Kulu. Ellie saying push and run like old school Spurs for the majority of matches. Moving into space requires effort, fitness, mentality, and desire.
Yeah.
David Shear says, did Kulu finally put some crosses in? I love Kulu too. No, he didn't put crosses in. That's the thing. Hasper TV says, best case scenario, he will be Manners understudy. Hasper says, the wide areas back and front is the biggest problem. Ugly Fish is saying, I agree Kulu should be moved into midfield rotation. If Lo Celso leaves, he can take his spot. And Ellie is saying, I think, yes, Johnson has pace, but he hasn't got the fitness yet or the physicality to last 90 minutes. So for now, impact sub is his niche. David saying, gotta go, Haru, Jose, Chris in chat. Yeah, it's 8 hours, so it's now 10 p.m. in the evening for David. David, good night. I look forward to your message in the morning when you get up. So
Take care.
thank you very much, David. Take care, mate. So the starred ones that you asked me to star. So first of all, I'm going to ask Chris's question to the chat. Chris's question to the chat is, why do you think the ball movement was too slow? Have I covered some of them where?
You may have done. I'm not sure, but I thought that was interesting. That was just a question that I posed to the chat, or anyone who wants to answer that. Yeah.
Right. So if you said why was the ball movement so slow, Chris?
Well, I mean, why is it so slow? Basically, because either your players don't move enough and they don't move in the right direction or to the right spaces, or you've got a team that is very well planted in front of you that are not giving you those options to let your players move into those places, right? And then the star one that I asked you to star, I think, was from Haspers. Thank you for joining us. Regarding the midfield, I think it was, and passing through. Okay, you have to create spaces. You have to draw players out of their comfort zone, right? But because Palace yesterday were very, very well planted in their defensive tasks, that's why you couldn't go through the middle, right? As a lot of people know, I'm a big Barcelona supporter as well. There was a very, very famous game when Guardiola and Mourinho were Barcelona and Real Madrid managers, respectively. And I think that Mourinho implemented the cage, which was an extremely well planted mid block where Barcelona couldn't pass a ball in the middle in the midfield area whatsoever, but we had something like close to 700 or 800 passes in the game, 800 or 900. I can't remember, but it was a stupid amount of passes. So sometimes it doesn't matter where your players run or move to. It doesn't matter whether you're physically apt or not. It obviously depends on your rival. Now, yesterday, the ball movement was slow because of two reasons. One was Palace, and two, because we were lazy, like Ellie said before. Second half, obviously, Palace are not going to maintain that rhythm, even though they're moving sideways or slightly forward or slightly back. But to maintain that for a full 90 minutes, you've got to be superhuman or make your changes to fit your tactical disposition, right? Or sometimes there's going to be cracks, which is where you're going to make the most of those flaws, right? So that's the reason why the ball movement was too slow.
Okay. Right, I've started a couple of you to ask me to star as well, but we've got to go. So Chris had to go. David had to go, but as David went, I've not come to David yet, but as he went, it's Mia's coming. Good afternoon, Mia. She said Kulu put 2 key passes in, and Defo was decent yesterday. Tyke Yike, good afternoon, Tyke Yike, a name that I don't think I've seen. It seems whoever starts on the right is cursed. Yeah, please like the show as it helps out me out immensely. And if you're in a good mood to help me out on this channel, then please subscribe. David Shear, bugger it, sleep when I'm dead. So David is back with us. Ellie's just said Højbjerg was brilliant in that Jose cage. And Ugly Fish is saying that's the spirit, David Shire. So you asked me to start 2. Haspers 1 is the first one. Why don't our wingers go on the outside? Always cutting inside, and it gives us no variation. As soon as Werner started going on the outside, second half, we actually looked threatening. Now, I'll go first on this one. If anyone watched the stream yesterday, which we did for the first time, which I thoroughly enjoyed, at half time and throughout the first half, I was saying all along that Werner is the only player that we've got that is prepared to go past the player. He was doing it also in the first half, Hasper. Just he did it more in the second half, but he was also the only player that was doing it in the first half as well. He's the only player that seems to do it naturally in games. You give him the ball out wide more often than not than any other player, he's going to try and go past the player and get the crosses in nice and low. So um, the difficulty that I've got when you're asking me this question is that I've watched Ange's teams. More so Celtic. I mean, I had to look at some of the others to go back and look at them, but Celtic, because they're on Sky, and I've got Sky, I watched Celtic, who today lost 2-0 at Hearts, by the way. So Rangers lost
Wow.
yesterday. Rangers lost at home yesterday to Motherwell, and Celtic lost today. So that means that Rangers still remain 2 points in front of Celtic. So
Yeah.
by the looks of it, none of them want to win. But anyway, um, watching Mr. Postecoglou's team at Celtic, he had two wingers that would get that they could get down to the wing to go past the player, should I say, on their natural foot, and then get the whipping the balls low in there. And I can't remember the guy's name now. Their centre forward, the guy who scored the 28 goals last season. Kyogo, right? So Kyogo was on the end of most of these because Kyogo's not like 6'5" tall. He's tiny, but he was getting on the end of these because of the patterns of play they were playing. Now, his fullbacks that inverted for Celtic would invert, so they wouldn't go past the wingers, but they'd invert as our fullbacks invert. But I think with playing players in inverted winger positions, it means that our wingers are going to cut back in. So maybe there's a reliance on our fullbacks, if you want to call them fullbacks, to get beyond the wingers when they invert to put the ball in. And that's happened, but very infrequently throughout the season. I mean, I can remember Porro setting up a few goals. And I can also remember a doggy doing this as well. But for some reason, the wingers that we've got seem to invert all the time. Werner is the only one. And I will say, I'll give it to him as well. Solomon, in the brief moments that he's played for Tottenham, looked like a player that he wanted to go past players as well. So you've got Solomon and Werner. And I will say Johnson as well. When Johnson's played out on the right, Johnson wants to go past players as well. But the one that's been doing it often and from day one since he's come to the club is Werner. Werner does it. So, and I was saying this yesterday at half time. So, Chris, go on. Sorry, what do you think on this?
No, yeah, I think I alluded to it in my opening speech. Your wingers, they don't go outside because they're not taking them on because Kulu is not a right-footed player. He's predominantly left-footed. Werner yesterday, definitely in the second half, was doing that more. Was it because he got his mark, his mark's number, or because it was because they were tired, or Palace had to come out a little bit more? And could be through that. But Werner is extremely a talented player, and we should give him more credit instead of slating him so much. Johnson, I agree. He should. I think he should be starting in front of Kulu. But anyway, because he's more versatile and he can get to the byline, just like Werner can. He's more versatile, in my opinion, than Kulu. So that is why we don't go on the outside. Mainly, it all stems from our right and left backs because they invert. They do not go on the outside. They do not overlap, right? Because we run down the channel. They play down the channels, right? Which means that our wingers normally will not do that because you're in inferiority down those areas, right? And it's very, very technical, very, very tactical, but that is the reason. Now, if you want to play like Man United used to play when you had Gary Neville and David Beckham overlapping each other, right? Well, then you can't play inverted wingers. You can't play inverted fullback, sorry. You're going to have to set up totally different. We could do that, but we can't play inverted then. So, plus you don't have the players if Kulu's starting in your starting 11. So it's all a bit of a mix there, but that's why.
So we've got Stay Humbleton. Werner was our best player on the day. David Shear saying, hope to the game gives our players positive kick in the arse to go on and tear the rest of the season. Mark Cook says, still think we need a defensive midfielder that dictates the rhythm of play. There are times to play quick and to slow it down. I don't think we have that at the moment. Daniel Lee's back, so it's big up to Daniel Lee, and everyone else is talking to each other. But what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say this to everybody now, right, is I remember a lot of you, and a lot of you are in the chat at the moment, and others that I do know, and I remember you saying this, right? But when Werner joined for us, right, we turned round and I heard a lot of people saying, yeah, but Werner's no good and no. The only way that we'll address it, or the only way that we'll see that he's any good, is if he can provide, because he's only come in at half the season, right? Yeah, or whatever, he's came in January. And people were saying that if he could get 12 GAs, I saw people saying if he can get 12 GAs, they'll be happy with him. Yeah? Right. He's played 6 Premiership matches at the moment. And remember, we still have another, we've got another 12 to go. We've played 26. So we've got another 12 to go. How many GAs has he got at the moment? And he still has 12 games to go?
3.
Okay. So he's got 3. So in 12 games,
1 goal, 2 assists.
Yeah, 1 goal and 2 assists. So he's got to play another 11 games to get 9 more GA. And then people would say that they were satisfied. Well, there were a lot of people that were saying 10, because we know we share it around the team. But I'm going to say 12. I'm going to push the boat and say 12. So therefore, if he then gets that, I want to see what people's arguments are going to be then. I really need to understand what people's arguments are going to be then. You know, the guy hasn't got the GAs that we wanted. Because if you say, and this is what I mean, it suits the narrative. If you say that you want something and someone delivers that to you, whether it's pleasing on the eye or not, whether you're happy the way it's been done or whatever, you asked for this and you got what you asked. That's what was delivered. So therefore, you know, some people out here in the Tottenham fan base, not necessarily on the chat, but in the Tottenham fan base, want one thing and mean something totally different. So that's what I say on Werner. And then if I look, what's the other one? Brennan Johnson, in it. Let me have a look at Brennan Johnson. What's his stats saying? How many
he's like 21. He's got 2 and 3 or 3 or 5 or something like that. I think we checked it yesterday.
Right, so Brennan Johnson has played. Oh, it doesn't say league games, does it? Hold on. Let me see.
I'll tell you in a minute. Hang on. 20 matches, 3 goals, 6 assists.
So he's got 9 stats, 9 GAs.
Yeah. In 20.
I mean, but it doesn't. What I'm trying to say, Chris. Is,
right, sorry.
Well, they've got it. They've got these GAs, and people will say this, that, and the other. Even Sonny, you can look at Richarlison. Everyone gets creamed. Everyone gets slated. But then when you actually look at the numbers ain't that bad for none of these players at all. So what you ask for and what you get, that gets delivered, and then you're moving the goalpost and saying something totally different. So,
but is that regardless of whether we win, draw, or lose? Because they are obviously highlighted, or those numbers obviously increase in value, although numerically they're the same if your team wins. But if you get the same GAs if you lose, then is he shit anyway, according to the fan base? Because, do you know what I mean? Because he can graft and graft and graft and graft and graft and still not cut the mustard. Do you know what I mean? Even though he puts the dirty work in. So, I mean, there are things that go unnoticed, like I was saying yesterday. I mean, it's not just because I said it, but I feel as though a lot of players do the dirty work and go unnoticed, and they are extremely essential to a team, right? And it's not all about scoring 50 goals, or it's not about making 27 saves a match, like if you're a goalkeeper, or do you know what I mean? It's not all about stats at the end of the day. It's about if your team does the business or not. Or so at the end of the day, it's sometimes it's be careful what you wish for. So, you know, just wanted to say that.
Yeah, you've got. Ellie says Kulu goes past players, but they catch up with him. And he's predominantly left-footed and checks back, and sometimes they nick the ball off him, as he doesn't use his right a lot and go for the line often. David Shear says, "Not for me. He has 12 games for 15 million. Let him crack in." Werner says, Stay Humble says Werner is a good squad player, but I would want better for next season. Daniel Lee says, "I told you yesterday, mate, give me the numbers and I would make it permanent." I'm talking about the fan base in general, Daniel.
Yeah, of course.
What people say. David Shear's telling us that Romero's got 4 goals this year. David Shear, Werner 49 games for Germany. And Ugly Fish is saying, when Werner was at Chelsea, every time he touched the ball, me and my mate would say, don't chase me, I'm full of chocolate. I can't take him seriously to this day. And the other starred question, because I wanted to go on to do some scoring of the players for yesterday, but David Shee, you asked me to start this. David said, so midfield has been our Achilles heel since Biss went off the ball and injuries stuffed us.
Oh, I think I've got it written down here. Yeah, midfield is it's the engine of any team, isn't it? So yes, of course, if Biss has been your one of your main men in the midfield, and he's gone off the boil because of personal reasons or playing reasons, or because he's gone to the African World Cup or whatever it was, or the Nations, and he's injured, etc., etc. Yeah, of course, it stuffed us, but then that's just shit happens. Excuse my French, but yeah, of course, if one of your main men isn't there in the engine room, of course it's going to be a problem. Of course, it's going to stuff us, as you say so eloquently, David. Yes, of course, because you're not going to regardless of whether Højbjerg could do a job defensively, because he's more a defensive player than an offensive player, is not the same. He's not the same player on a global sense than Bissouma is. So it's not the same. So yeah.
Right. So we've got. So hopefully that's answered David as well, because we started his one. Yeah, David's just saying, Jose, I'm Werner in if he performs in the last 12 games to prove his worth. Again, people hit the likes for the show. It helps me out immensely. And if you're in a good mood, please sub. Jose, just trying to put our bad form into perspective, Chris and chat. Sorry. So do you know what? What I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to quickly let people know exactly where they are, or what they've done. Villarreal are 4-0 up against Granada.
Oh wow! You know who's the goalkeeping coach at Granada?
Who?
Jose Sambade, who's my goal. That's where my son goes to goalkeeping academy.
Wow! And just to let people,
he's been down there.
So just to let people know, that currently live, it's Burnley 0, Bournemouth 1. So for people to know that. And as for people's predictions, because some of you have been asking me the question, right? So at the moment, from top to bottom, I'm going to go. I have 1 correct prediction and 3 scores. So I've got 6 points. Colin has 4 correct predictions. So Colin has 4 points. Tot Spurs has 2 correct scores and 3 correct predictions. So Totspur has 9 points at the moment. Bobby K has 5 points at the moment. Ian Meth has 4. Ellie, you've got 1 correct score and 1 correct prediction and 3 scores. So you've got 6 points at the moment. Kate has 4 points at the moment. Leo at Mile High has 5. Adrian Schroker has 2. Nick Talking Beer has 5. Mark Cousins has 4. Nitara has scored 6. Chang has got 4. Lee Smithy Smith has 4. Chris Meta Football has 4.
Ooh.
Wayne Bonner currently has 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Kate, I've just given you yours. Good afternoon, Kate. Just see you come in. You've got 4, Kate, at the moment. Wayne Bonner, has 6. Ronnie has 3, 4. Ronnie has 5. Julie has 5. Jim from Just a Girl Who Loves Spurs has 2 correct predictions. Sorry, 2 correct scores and 3 predictions. So Jim also is top scoring at the moment, along with Tot Spurs on 9 for the week. Chris Peters has 4. Danny has 7. So Danny has 1 correct score and 4 correct predictions. Sam at Stateside Lily Whites currently has 6. Stay Humble has 4. Sanchez Bethnal Green has 2 correct scores and 2 correct predictions. So Sanchez has got 8. DC from Leicester has 3. Jishnu has 3. Dekaru has 7. So 1 correct prediction and 4 scores. Sorry, I'll take that back. Dekaru has 8. He has 1 correct prediction and 5. Sorry, 1 correct score and 5 predictions. So Dekaru has 8. Spurs GCTV currently has 3. Soji has 1. Ben, who says that he's trying to score 0 points, has actually scored 4. Scott Colliver has scored 6. David Shear has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correct 5 predictions and 1 correct score. So David Shear is currently on 8 points. Barbaric is currently on 3. Ash P is currently on 6. Ryan G, our Wolves commentator from yesterday, has 6. Well, Mark Cook has 4. Carl Simpson has 5. Jamie has 4. Neil has 3. And Audio Artisan, who only started last night, has 1. And Parker hasn't scored yet. But these people only put in predictions for the last 4 games because they watched they came onto the watch along after the game had finished, so therefore the first 6 games had finished, so they could only enter the last 4 games. So well done everyone for your points so far. Predominantly I can see that a lot of people 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 24 of the 41 people that have taken part this week have gone for an away victory. So at the moment, the majority of people are scoring a point. Although Chris Peters has 1-0, he's got the correct scoreline at the moment. And so has Audio Artisan have got the correct scores at the moment. So that brings you up to date with the points. So just wanted to let you guys know. Right. So Chris.
Hi.
Vicario, what score is he getting out of 10 for yesterday?
He's getting a 7 for me because there's three moments for me, at least I can remember, that come to mind. The first one is I think it was the first half. Yeah, the first half was the Eze free kick. I think he could have done a bit. Was that second? Sorry, no. So the first half was, I think it was a ball in the penalty area where he came out, and I think he blocked that. I'm not sure whether it was offside. It would have been, but he
still made the save. He didn't know. He didn't know. He had to make the save, didn't he?
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, that regardless of whether it was an offside or not, he did his job. He blocked, so that was great. And he made a great save from a shot. I think it was just outside the box. I think it was. That was pretty cool. So those are my 2 positive points in the game for him, and the negative one for me was that I think that he should have done a lot better on the free kick. Although the free kick was very, very well taken. I mean, what can you do about that? Yeah, he stepped, made one step to his left. Hindsight is brilliant. Is he a bad keeper because of that? I mean, come on, keepers have probably the toughest job in on the pitch, by the referee. I mean, you can't expect excellence always, especially from a 24-year-old keeper coming into the EPL. He's magnificent, but he makes mistakes. He'll get better. But for me, he was a 7.
Okay. So just before we carry on, I've seen that Ben's just joined us. Yeah, the redirect did help. I thank you very much, Ben. And also, Ben, I don't know whether you heard, but you scored 4 points this week so far. You went for an 8-all draw in the game between Brentford and Chelsea, which ended up a draw, so you get a point, Ben. You went for 5-1 victory for Fulham. They won 3-0. You get another point for that one. You went for 5-4 Newcastle Wolves. That was a 3-0 victory as well. So you scored another point for that, Ben. And you went for 6-1 win for Tottenham against Palace. Well, Tottenham won 3-1, so you scored another point for that. So, Ben, I keep telling you, it's so hard to score 0 points because even if you went for 10 draws, all you need is one team to draw and you score a point. So, well done you this week. For me, Vicario, Chris, for everything you said, Vicario did everything you wanted him to do, bar he was at fault for the goal. He was definitely at fault because it was the goalkeeper's side, and he should have got to that or moved quicker. It was on his side. The wall was covering the other side, so he was at fault for that goal in my eyes. But he'd done everything else that he's supposed to do. He did make a couple of good saves. So Vicario for me also gets a 7.
Brilliant.
Right, so who we got? So there's a lot of people talking to each other. So Paul G. And I'll come back to it. So next person is Royale.
I don't know. I'm in two worlds about him. I saw him do
just yesterday's game. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about. I do not know. I saw him do some decent stuff. Then I saw him do some very, very innocent third division stuff. I'll just give him a 6 because I have to. I'm sorry for those who thought he did a great job. I did see comments on the watch along yesterday. I did see comments on other outlets on the internet praising his game yesterday. I think he needs to be more consistent if he wants to be a professional EPL player. I'm going to give him a 6. I've got nothing else to say about him.
Right, so for me, he scores a 7 for yesterday. Okay. I thought to myself that defensively, he'd done some really, really good stuff defensively. I felt that although he's not Porro when he plays the inverted, I felt that he didn't lose the ball as often as what he's done in previous games yesterday. And I thought to myself yesterday, he had a steady Eddie game. So I'm going to actually give Royale a 7.
Fair enough.
The next man is Christian Romero.
8. Very, very solid defensively. Exactly what we need if we want to be challenging for Champions League football. Nothing special to say about him. Defensively solid, and just what we need to be confident at the back.
Yeah. Sorry, just see a comment coming from Dan. Dan, you did predict 2-0 to Bournemouth. You weren't the only one though, but you did predict it. For me, Romero gets the 8 as well. Pretty much everything that you said. Van der Ven.
I chose Werner as my man of the match, but I think Mickey is my joint man of the match as well. Come to think of it, I'm going to give him an 8.5 because obviously mistakes were made, but as every player makes mistakes. 8.5. When the mistakes were made, he tracked back and amended them. So 8.5 for me. Joint man of the match. He's just brilliant. So. Yep.
I'm going for an 8 for Van der Ven. He wasn't my man of the match. He ran my man of the match close though. But I'm going to give him an 8. Just saying. So Kate's giving Vicario a 7, Royale a 6, and Romero an 8, and VDV a 9.
Oh,
And
similar to
Ben
me.
is giving Van de Ven 15, head and shoulders above the whole team. Right, a doggy.
I'm going to give him a 7. I don't think it was his best match, but then I didn't really concentrate on Udogi, to be honest. I'll give him a 7 because he turned up. He did try and connect very well with Werner down the flanks. I'll just give him a 7.
So for me, a doggy gets a 6. I thought a doggy has not been. He's coming back from injury this week, but a doggy hasn't been the same player. He's still young, still got a lot to learn. He's learning a new role to play because it's not the role that he's been previously playing before he came to Tottenham. So at the end of the day, this is my eyes. You know, this is what I saw for myself. When I give kudos and plaudits out to a doggy, it's because they're richly deserved. And if I'm giving him a lower score, it's because I believe that's richly deserved on the way that he played yesterday. So for me, I thought, yeah, defending probably gets him gets him out of it yesterday. For me, I thought his attacking was quite poor yesterday. He's pushing up the pitch and that. He seems to travel with the ball. And sometimes I'm not sure whether he's got the ball under control or not. I mean, the game's so fast paced anyway, but I'm not sure whether he's got the ball under control or not. And sometimes I think, not before, like the first half of the season, I thought he knew all the time what he was doing with the ball. But now I'm sometimes thinking to myself, does he know what he's going to do next with it? So for me, I didn't think it was his best game. However, I'll caveat that with he's just coming back from injury. So for me, he got a 6 for yesterday.
Fair enough.
Bissouma.
I really don't know.
So Ben says Destiny 7 overall solid. Daniel is saying Holland have got it good when Virgil van Dijk retires and Van der Ven can step in and be their senior centre back for the next 10 years. Talking beer, good morning to everyone. And Daniel Lee is saying, I thought a doggy was very average yesterday. But now we're on Biss.
Yeah. I don't know. As I said, I was concentrating more on other aspects of the game as opposed to players individually. But I don't know. 7.5. I don't know. I really don't know.
So
say 7.5. Just because.
Did you say 7.5? Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So we've got Ben saying 7 for Bissouma, much better but sloppy in parts. Ellie saying I give Venom 7 too, as he didn't organise the ball well enough for the free kick. Talking beer, Nick's giving Bissouma 6.5. I'm going to give Bissouma an 8. I thought Bissouma done really well yesterday. It's probably his most positive game since he's come back from the AFCON. Really positive. I thought that, and this is what I'm saying, is everyone watches the game differently in there. But I thought to myself that possession-wise, passing-wise, the person that made the most passes for Tottenham was Romero. Second to him was Bissouma. And then when you look at the accurate passing, there wasn't much between them both. They were the two that made the most passes on the pitch yesterday for Tottenham. And I thought Bissouma played well yesterday. I thought out of the midfield three, he probably had the best game out of the three of them. So I'm giving Bissouma an 8. Ellie says Bissouma 5 as he was a lazy sidewinder. Destiny 7 as he was pretty good driving with the ball. Which brings us on to Bentancur. Rodrigo Bentancur.
I'm going to give him a 6. Wasn't impressed. Although he was unlucky with the foul that led to the Eze goal, because I actually think he was going for the ball. He just got unlucky with the. From my perspective, at least, I think he just clashed with his hip or whatever it was, and was unlucky, got a foul for that, which is obviously a yellow card. But I'm just going to give him a 6. I wasn't impressed. Need to see more.
I'm going to give Bentancur a 6. I thought Bentancur, initially in the first half, I thought he'd started off really well. I thought he was moving around and he's starting off well. He's another man that I'll give him his props when he deserves it, but when he doesn't. But I'll caveat again, Bentancur is coming back from injury as well. And the fact that he got a start before Sarr says a lot. But then Postecoglou did come out last night and say that Sarr's been carrying a back injury since he came back from the the AFCON, the AFCON, and that's why he didn't play yesterday, because he's been plagued by a back injury. So we were all wondering why Bentancur and Bissouma got the start ahead of Sarr, and that's it. So when you're looking at the lesser of two evils on the injury front, Bentancur's returning from injury, and they played Bentancur from the start and tried to save Sarr because of his back. So yeah, Bentancur petered out, which is to be expected, I think, with the injuries he's had to come back from the two major injuries he's had. So I'm giving Bentancur a 6 as well. You've got Nick Talking Beer says Bentancur 5.5. Ugly Fish, our midfield is struggling at the moment. Ben says 6 for Bentancur, really lackluster. Ellie, Destiny 7 is pretty good driving the ball, and VDV 8, my man of the match. Romero 6, only for scoring the goal. His passing in the first half was poor. And David Shear says, yes, Jimbo and I are talking about Dennis. Right. Mark Cook says, Benny needs another pre-season. That double injury, especially the knee injury, takes a long time to get back. If ever the same again, and he gives him a 6. We move on to Maddison, Chris.
I've given Maddison a 7.5. Because it's a bit hot and cold. He was cold in the first half, but then again, we go to what we said before. Movement from your other teammates also depends on, or will, what's the word? It reflects on you as well. Like if you can't pass the ball, it's not only your fault. It depends on the movement of your other players. But then the second half, I thought he did better and the team did better. So I'm going to give him a 7.5. So just because as well.
So for me, I'm going to give Maddison a 7. Again, everything you said, he did set up the second goal for Romero. He's another one. Whether people want to hear this or not, he's another one that's coming back from injury. He was out for 3 months, and he's building his fitness back up. And at the end of the day, we will get to where we will get to at the end of the season, and then there's going to be a hard shift and a hard graft at pre-season to get these players fit again and ready for the start of next season. We've had fits and bursts, but Maddison's another one that's coming back from injury. He tried to influence the game, and you're quite right, it was hot and cold yesterday. Some things came off. Some of his passing, he tried to thread balls through the eye of the needle, and they were like either under hit or they seem under hit because they were intercepted before they could get to their recipient. But the one thing with Maddison is you saw he tried. He played for the badge and for the club, and he did try yesterday, because you can see that there was one time where he was pushed in the back of his head with a hand, and he felt it was an elbow, and he's gone right up to the player, so he was all revved up and geared up. So, and he plays for the team. So for me, Maddison gets a 7 yesterday. You've got Ellie saying Benny a 5, was poor for his standards, lost the ball a few times, which is very uncharacteristic of him. Mark Cook says Madders gets a 7. Ugly Fish says Bentancur Maddison midfield is what I've been waiting for all season, but now I miss Sarr. And Ellie says Madders 7 wasn't up to his usual standards, but I agree with you guys. Lack of movement didn't help him, as he was looking for that killer pass. But you need a player or players in those killer positions.
Yep.
Kulusevski, Chris.
I originally put a 6.5, right? But I'm going to go down to a 6 because as time goes by, I just get tired of. He's not even a one-trick pony anymore. He's a one-trick donkey. I just don't like him. I know he puts the effort in. I know that is important. I know he tries. I just want more out of my players, and I would rather have kill me if you want, but I'd rather have Bergwijn in because he's a two-footed player and he can offer more than Kulu. I would rather have someone like Bergwijn in because he offers more. He's more versatile than a left-footed player that offers no more. So 6.
I'm going for a 6 for Kulu as well. I didn't think it was his strongest game yesterday at all. I think some of his play was absolutely sloppy yesterday, which I'm not going to turn around and say, because I normally say, and this is what I'm saying, props for when players play really, really well, right? And if they don't, then I'm going to say they didn't play well. And yesterday, I just felt that a lot of the stuff, the ball didn't stick to him. The ball, and there's times where he just didn't have the ball under control. The ball didn't stick to him. He didn't, team wise, he didn't help get us out of a fix and stuff like that yesterday. So for me, I'm going to give him a 6 also. Right, so we've got Eddie's jumping the gun, but fair enough. Talking Beer says Johnson gets a 6.9. With Johnson, we haven't got to him yet. Sonny, we haven't got to yet. Daniel Lee says 5. Kulu 5, he was awful. And Nick Talking Beer says 5 for Kulu. Mr. Show, watch back later. Big up, Chris. Good to see you, bro. Tot Spurs, you're doing well in the predictions, mate. I'll tell you that. If you watch back, I gave a latest update verbally of what people have got so far. You are doing well, my friend. Over me this week. You're ahead of me on points for this week. So well done. Werner.
Well, where do you want me to start? I mean, we could be here until Tuesday. Well, 8.5 for me. I said he was my joint man of the match with Mickey. So if I give Mickey an 8.5, I have to give Timo an 8.5. Not perfect. The big debate is whether he should have scored on the 1v1 with Johnston. My eyes say that no, because Johnston did a very, very, very good job of keeping him out. Other people say Werner's shite because he should have made more of it. Not for me. Johnston did a great job, but Werner still was for me the best man, along with Mickey on the pitch. And for me, he gets an 8.5. So well done, Timo.
So Werner for me gets a 9. He was my man of the match yesterday. And I said it. So I said it all throughout the first half. At half time in the watch along, I was saying to people, look, I can see what Tottenham are doing here. It's 0-0. People may not be happy, but I can see green shoots of what we're trying to do. I can see that we've worked hard for 2 weeks on the pitch, and I can see a lot of good here. And, keep faith, because we'll come on strong in the second half and we'll get to where we need to be. And that ended up happening. So that's not hindsight talking now. I actually said this live yesterday during the first half and the second half. Werner, for me, is the only man, like I keep saying, who's prepared to go at a player. And not only did he take his goal well, but he attacked constantly. He tried to take his player on. And a lot of the time, he was double banked as well. It was 2 players that he had to take on. And he was getting down and he was getting the ball across the box. There was one chance that he set up for Sonny that Sonny fluffed. And then Johnson had just come on and let it go onto his right foot, and he's hit it over the bar. Werner put in a few crosses yesterday, and for me, I thought he typified. He had a really, really good game, and so for me, I'm giving him a 9, because if I'm going to give Mickey van der Ven and Romero the 8s, and I'm giving Abyss an 8, then for me, there's got to be a standout player, and for me, the standout player was Werner yesterday. I'm going to give him a 9. When he plays badly, I'll say he plays badly, but yesterday he played well. Mark Cook says 7.5. Want more getting down on the outside. Ellie says 7.5 as his effort and movement was good. Should have scored when 1-on-1 and took too many touches. If he had scored that goal, he would have got an 8.5 and got my man of the match, but he muffed it. Talking Beer is 7.375 for Werner. And Daniel says, I rated Werner yesterday, but was not a 9 performance. That's near enough a flawless performance. Good afternoon, Eugene, or good evening it will be for Eugene now, because for Eugene it must be 10:45 in the evening for you, I would have thought. But good afternoon to you, sir. I hope you're well, and I hope your watch along went well yesterday as well, sir. Ellie's then saying, I'm more savage on my point for Werner, but I feel unfair too. Daniel Lee says Van der Ven was man of the match. Everyone has opinions.
Of course.
Son, Chris.
Son, I gave an 8 because he wears the badge on his sleeve and on his legs and on his head and on his heart, and he is Spurs through and through. Taking into consideration the difficulty of yesterday's match, and he's 30 odd, and he never gave up, and he tried and he tried and he tried, and the technical prowess of his finish on that goal, he gets an 8 for me. That's a great game yesterday. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say. He gets an 8.
Yeah, I'll go along with. I'm going to give Sonny a 7. I just think that he was outshone. He put in a really good shift. Don't get me wrong, but I think he was just outshone by some others. So I think he had a decent game. So for me, I'm going to give Son a 7. Mark Cook is giving Son a 7 as well. Right, substitutes. In order that they came on. No, I'm going to do them backwards. So, Lo Celso.
Didn't pay any mind to Lo Celso, so I'm going to give him a 5 just because he had his kit on.
Okay, and Scarlett.
I'll give him a 6 because he's patient.
Okay, I'm not going to score Lo Celso and Scarlett because they both came on in the 88th minute, so I don't think they did enough to score or warrant anything at all. So I'm not going to score these two at all. But just thought I'd share them because they came on. Højbjerg.
Sure. Didn't see him. 5. Paid no attention to him.
I think Højbjerg came in and done all right. He came in and he played in the midfield, and I think he done all right. So I'm going to give Højbjerg a steady Eddie 6. Sarr.
Paid no attention to him. I was too worried and too. I was concentrating too much on the attack, on Werner and on Johnson to be worrying about the midfield. I do apologise for the lack of input on my behalf, but I was concentrating too much on that.
I'm going to give Sarr a steady 6 for when he came on, because he just did what he had to do when he came on. I thought we controlled the game well. Sitting these subs were really late. I thought we controlled the game well because normally get a dip off and Palace would have come back at us, but they didn't because the players that came on did what they had to do, but not enough for me to start scoring high points. So for Sarr and Højbjerg, I'm going to give them both a 6, but Lo Celso and Scarlett, because they came on so late, I can't really score them. We've got Ellie saying, Jose and Chris would love to join you for these shows as soon as possible. And i.e. Angela's getting better so we can get the 3 of us back like before. We are the best Mediterranean 3 by far. Yeah, Ellie, we can't, and I think it's not only Chris and I, but everybody in the fan base can't wait to have you back. But needs must, Angela needs to get well first. So let's get Angela well. Did you see my message to you that I sent to you as well, Ellie, about Theo, about QPR winning at Leicester yesterday? Tottenham then winning, Angie's birthday on Friday. So if they said things comes in 3s, so this weekend must have been a good one in your household. So I hope that's the case. Daniel Lee says, Well, according to the flash scores, Maddison was the best player yesterday, followed by Romero and then Werner. I don't know what they were watching to think it was Maddison. And Eugene saying, "Good evening, Jose. Yeah, it's 10:47 here in Malaysia. The watch along went well, but it was boring for so long. Hope you guys had fun with your watch along with Colin and Chang." I did, Eugene. I don't know whether you heard me, but it's the first time. I don't normally watch alongs. I normally tend to just go my own private space and watch the game myself. But people in the chat were saying they wanted us to do a watch along. Chan was having a go at me saying, "You've got to do a watch along. You've got to do a watch along." So we finally did it. And I'm going to turn around and say I actually enjoyed it yesterday. It was good fun. I enjoyed it, and I think people that joined into the shows enjoyed it as well. And we will possibly be doing them again. So, and then you've got Ellie saying Højbjerg 7 as he kept the ball moving and got stuck in. And Daniel says, "Did you pay attention to any of the subs, Chris?"
I'm answering it. Yes,
right.
I did.
The last substitution, who was the first substitution, because I've gone backwards, was Johnson. What does Johnson score?
Johnson for me gets an 8.49. Sorry, I was mumbling. Yeah, 8.49 because he was my second joint best player of the match, along with just a tad behind Timo and Mickey. For me, he was a game changer. So Johnson, 8.49. Can't give him an 8.5. So 8.49. Sorry to be awkward, but yes, Daniel, I did watch the subs, and he was the sub that I watched. So my concentration was predominantly attack minded, and I thought he was a game changer. And the combinations that we sorely needed, trying to get in that right-sided half space to open up Palace defense, kind of did the trick. So yeah, that was the one that I watched. Thank you for the funny question.
Right,
Yeah.
so Bournemouth have just gone 2-0 up. Ellie's telling us. And Daniel, I confirmed earlier, you said that did you have 2-0 Bournemouth? And I said to you, yes, but you're not the only one. And that's because I also have 2-0 to Bournemouth. So let's wait and see what happens. Look who's come in. Ryan G. Hello, Ryan. How are you? Hope you're well. Thank you for joining us yesterday on the watch along and for keeping us updated around the grounds. Ryan is saying that he also has 2-0 to Bournemouth. And Ryan G, you're correct. So there's you, me, at the moment for 2-0 Bournemouth. I have 2-0 Bournemouth. Chan has 2-0 Bournemouth. Wayne Bonner has 2-0 Bournemouth. Danny has 2-0 Bournemouth. Spurs GCTV has 2-0 Bournemouth. Scott Colliver has 2-0 Bournemouth. Ryan G has 2-0 Bournemouth. And that's it. So there are about 5 or 6 of us, or if not slightly more, that have 2-0. So, and Daniel said, "Well, you must have copied my score. I knew it was fixed, man. Seeing that I was the first person to do the score, so I did mine on Thursday, and I said it in the show. I've done mine, and the only prediction that I was going to change was my Liverpool one, where I went for Forest to win. But when I heard the presser on Friday, and I heard who was available and who wasn't, and that Slobberslite and Nunes would be back in the squad, that's when I thought about changing my prediction. I didn't. I still went for Forest to win. So there we go. Sorry, going back to Johnson, I am giving Johnson an 8 as well, for obvious reasons. I think it's obvious. People say he's lightweight and that, but to set up that first goal, he put in a tackle on Anderson. He then put the tackle into the next chap as well, and then put the ball across the box for Werner to score. He was the one that inadvertently made the tackle that kind of clipped the ball. He's made the tackle, but he's put a lot more onto the ball than what he was meant to for doing a tackle. And the ball's gone down the pitch, and Sonny's run from his own half and ended up scoring the goal. So, yeah, for me, he gets an 8. Right, so with that, what are you scoring Postecoglou, Chris? If you had a manager's head on, what are you scoring Postecoglou for yesterday?
I always have a manager's head on. What are you talking about? I think Postecoglou for me gets a 7.5
Okay.
because the way in which the team tactically set up against Palace was very correct, and that's exactly what you had to do. Now, would I like would I like the tactical setup to be more um, more correct, so to speak, in that you have to have more players down the flanks, as the chap was saying before? Yes, I would like that, but because we play with inverted fullbacks, and we've been saying this day in day out, we do not get that overlap. So that is one thing that we do not have in our favour, to be able to break down and have more attacking options in the against low block teams. So that's why he's only going to get a 7.5, because we maintain this tactical setup, and he doesn't seem to vary it that much. So that's why I'm going to give him a 7.5.
Okay. I'm giving Postecoglou an 8 for yesterday.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm giving him an 8 is because I honestly, and I said this throughout yesterday, and I said it today on the show, I saw things from the view that I got from the stream that I had. I could see a lot of what was going on. And for me, I saw what Tottenham were doing. Whether it's fast passing, slow passing, I saw what they were doing. I could see clearly what they were trying to do to pull out the Palace players, and to try and find the space in that. And it was going to be a case of a wait and see how long it took you to break them down type thing. But I could see what he was trying to do quite clearly. Um, and for me, he's made a couple of well, he made three tweaks in the team lineups yesterday, um, and I thought his lineup was it was spot on because it's worked for us. However, I still, like I said, I'm not sure what Kulu now offers us at the moment, because I think he's been found out, and unless Kulu changes the way he plays, then I fear that he's not going to be in the side for much longer, and that Johnson will take his place. But I could see clearly that the players have worked for them 2 weeks that they've been away. Um, there's nothing like match fitness, so you've got to play games to be match fit, and we haven't played a game for 2 weeks. So all being said, getting a 3-1 victory yesterday was absolutely superb for us, and for that reason, because he's the manager, so that the buck stops with him. So that means the result goes with him as well. So a 3-1 victory is a good result in any Premiership game. So for that reason, I'm scoring him an 8. Eugene
Yeah.
says, kind of reminds me that Anderson slipped for the first goal. He slipping or no slipping. He, Johnson put in two challenges on him. There's pre the slip and beyond the slip. He's put two challenges in against him. If you watch it back, so I still stand by that. And then Daniel says these first half showings by us is becoming a bit troubling for me. Better opposition will kill us off in the first half if we don't start up in the first half performances. Daniel, what we were saying earlier and what Chris said earlier is when you play against a team that doesn't play a low block against you, the football looks totally different. The majority of teams in the Premiership will play a low block away from home against Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. However, because Tottenham are a decent team, and they are a decent team, let's not forget they are a decent side. A lot of these teams will also play like an away team, even when they're at home. And
Yep.
it's a case of us having to learn. But like Chris said earlier, when you're going to play your Man Cities, your Arsenals, your Liverpools, your Man U's, and people like that, they don't play low block against you. They play open football. So therefore, the football's going to be totally different. So with that, can someone tell me when the Bournemouth game finishes? Because when it does, I can input the results quickly. Um, Ugly Fish says our midfield should be back to full force by Villa. We can really see what they're about. I certainly hope so. So I've got two more topics to talk about, and then I'm going to call it a day. But the next topic I got is Chris, in your opinion, and the chat, in your opinion, Did our captains step up yesterday?
Did they? I don't know. Probably. I mean, with regard to what? I mean, I would like to think they would maintain the team level-headed when you play against teams like Palace. That if the fan base gets frustrated, the team mustn't get frustrated, and at some point there will be a crack, there will be an opening, there will be a flicker of talent that will override that defence. So the captains must maintain the team on a level-headed, with the level-headedness, so to speak. So, did they step up? I think so. I'd like to think so. So, my answer is yes.
Right. So for me, the three captains definitely stepped up yesterday. It's everything that Chris said, right? But Maddison set up Romero for the second goal. So it's Maddison's assist. So that's the captains combined in there. And then Sonny scored the third goal. And I think that the scores are reflected in what we gave them out of 10. Because if we're giving, for me, I gave Romero an 8. I've given Maddison a 7. And I gave Sonny a 7. However, that's only because there was other good performances within the team. For me, the likes of Werner played well. Van der Ven played well. I thought Bissouma played well. Johnson. So these players all played well in my eyes as well. So therefore, score-wise, they scored 7s to 8s for me. But all three contributed yesterday as well. One got an assist and two of the captains got goals. So apart from their general captaincy on the pitch, I thought they stepped up hugely because they got goals and assists for us as well. I don't know. Is the chat saying anything as well? Because I'm currently trying to plug in the scores. So where are we?
Burnley's finished. Burnley Bournemouth finished 2-0 away.
Okay, got that. Yeah, so seen that. Daniel East. So good afternoon, Adrian. Nice to see you, mate.
Adrian.
Flash scores gave Romero an 8.1 and Maddison got an 8.2. Daniel Lee's also saying, yeah, I get that it's harder to break a low block down. That's why we struggle in the first half. But I'm also saying we're letting teams have too many chances against us before we get going. As I said, Daniel, I saw yesterday from the view that I saw the game, I saw green shoots in what we're trying to do. And I could see that we've trained hard on the training pitch. And so for me, yeah, I'm happy in what I saw yesterday. And I can see food product at the end of the day that will come. And it will stand us in good stead. Listen, we want to be I like everybody else would like to go and spank teams 4, 5, 6s every week. And that's what I want. Other teams seem to have done it or be doing it throughout the years, but these people have been with each other for at least 5 to 9 seasons. We've only been together for 7 months. So for me, I'm positive. Still remain positive with it. Just updating the scores. So who we got? Right. Ugly Fish has asked us a question, so I'll star that and then we'll ask him. Right. So Chris, what's next for us, mate? What's next for Tottenham?
Right. Basically, to keep growing and to keep learning, because all of this must be stepping stones, right? Because you're not going to play against your Man Cities, Liverpools, Arsenals, etc., and you're going to find more and more and more teams that are going to close themselves up very, very tightly at the back. So these are great, extremely important learning curves and stepping stones for the team, right? Not just collectively, but individually. So obviously next is Villa away. That's not going to be a low block team to play against. So it's going to be an interesting match. I don't think it's going to be an easy match, but it's going to be a different match to yesterday, for example, regardless of whether it's home or away. Tactically, it's going to be different. but you're playing a very good side. That sometimes is up or down because they can lose at home and they can lose away, but they can also win at home and they can win. It's a very up and down kind of team. You get 6 or one, half a dozen of the other. But for us, we just have to keep on growing. We have to keep on learning. We have to maintain patience and yeah, just go with it. And as a fan base, understand that they're doing the best they can with what they have or what we have, if we want to include ourselves, and just get behind the team and yeah, just drive forward.
Right, so we've got Danny saying, I'm just hoping for a Saturday win where my heart don't age by another 10 years. You might have to wait a couple of weeks at least for that, Daniel, because we're playing Sunday next week. I think we're 1 o'clock kickoff on Sunday. And Villa are so clinical. We give them chances to Watkins like we have to other teams in previous weeks. We could be punished. I saw enough of the Villa game yesterday to say we can get a Villa. Villa will not play low block against us at home. We can get a Villa.
Yeah.
I saw enough of that yesterday. I saw the game yesterday and I thought, yeah, we can get at them. Before I carry on with that. So Manchester City have got a starting lineup of Ederson in goal. They're playing with Walker, Ruben Diaz and Ake in the back three. The middle two are Rodri and Stones. The next four are Silva, De Bruyne, Foden, Doku with Haaland up front. Substitutes for them today are Kovacevic, Ortega, Alvarez, Gomez, Gvardiol, Akanji, Nunes, Bob, and Lewis. And Manchester United have gone in with Manchester United in trouble. They've gone in with Onana, Dalot, Varane, Evans, Lindelof. Lindelof playing at left back. They've got a midfield of Mainu, Casemiro, and McTominay. And then they've got Bruno Fernandes with Garnacho and Rashford up front. Their substitutes today are Bayinde, Amrabat, Ericsson, Diallo, Anthony, Kambwala, Forson, Collier, and Unganeyi. So for me, on paper, it looks like one-way traffic for me on paper, but the game was never played on paper, as we know. The game was never played on paper. Right, I've started 2 questions that we're going to finish off with, and they're both from Ugly Fish, and that is Chris. Do you think Ange should invert Royale or play to his strengths? I know it's Ange's system, but I do wonder.
Right. So a very good question, and thank you for that. Royale plays better in a back five or as a right wing back. When he played for Betis here in Spain, he was brilliant. Right, he was co-owned by Barcelona and Betis, but those 2 years that he played for Betis, he was phenomenal. Right. My doubts are whether he can play in a back four and whether he can play inverted, which is making things more complex. So, do I think Ange should invert Royale? I think Ange should never play Royale, right? Anywhere near anything inverted, because that's just too complex for Royale as a player. If he's going to play Royale, it should be in a back five because that is his strength. And that is my answer. Royale should not be anywhere near a back four and much less in an inverted, as an inverted right back.
Because you followed football in Spain a lot more than what I do, Chris, although I'm Spanish.
Yeah.
And that's probably because Deportivo are not in La Primera, so that's probably I don't watch it as much anymore.
They're doing very well.
I know we're doing well at the moment, but we're not in La Primera. So, what position did he play for at Betis then? And what setup? So he played a right wing back. So Betis played a 3 or a 5.
Yeah, I mean, a 3 and a 5
or a 5-3-2.
5-3-2, 5-2-3. Yeah, it all depends.
So he did
play. Yes, but he was up and down that right wing. You know, technically very sound, tactically very good. But of course, when you have those tactical consignments that your manager is giving you, okay, and it's very basic and it's very simple for the benefit of your team, then of course your work rate and etc. stands out. When you're inverting and you've got to play down the channels like Ange does, that's more complex. So, you know, we're talking about a different level of football.
Yeah.
And it's for the needs and the greater good of the team. I don't think Emerson Royal is good enough to play as an inverted right back, and which is why Borro always gets, whether we win, lose, or draw, Borro always gets, or most of the time at least, gets more applause from the fan base because he's technically and tactically more adept than Royale. Even if he gives the ball away and the away team scores a goal, yeah, we'll be pissed off. But he's technically and tactically more adept than Royale. So that's why we give him more leeway, because he's just a better player.
Okay. And then also, so when Royale was at Barca, he played in a 4, didn't he? He played at right back of a 4.
That's why he's at Spurs.
Yeah. Okay.
Not just because he's at Spurs, but because he didn't fit in at a 4, and we sold him for profit because we had a buyback clause of 9 million euros, and then we sold him off to Spurs for
20.
I think, was it 25?
20 million, 20 odd
20,
million,
yeah.
Yeah, 20 odd million.
Yeah. So yeah, but never. Spurs did a very, very bad bit of business with Emerson. Very bad.
And just so we've got the last question coming up, guys. But before we get there, you've got Daniel saying, yeah, you can definitely get Villa. I'm looking at this. We both have clinical players as Sonny and Watkins. Okay, fair enough. And Stay Humble saying, Andy's too stubborn to change his system for any player. And then he's saying to you, Chris, after you, the Royals should be shown the door once we find a replacement. And Scott M is also, good afternoon, Scotty M. Hope you're well, mate. He's also saying Royal should never beat any Premier League game. And the last question that we've got has also come in from Uglyfish. So I'm hoping that Uglyfish is still here and that he knows that these are being answered. But the last question to end the show is, do you think Madders is needed in that leadership group? I see Son and Rom as our captains so far. I know he was out when Son was gone.
I don't see why not. Why not? He seems to fit in like a glove. He actually said, I think it was yesterday, was it, that this club was made for him, or he was made for this club, or something like that. He seems very, very at home, very, very well loved by the fan base. He's British, which is not exclusive to being a captain, but why not? Why not be British and be a captain at Spurs? Great. So is he needed? Why wouldn't he be needed in a leadership group? I think he's very, 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 very good choice to be a captain. So yeah, why not?
Interesting. So for me, what I will say is the captain's group is important all around. So it's just not what happens on the pitch, it's what happens off it, what happens in the changing room, what happens in training. Every day at Tottenham Hotspur Way, what happens with that leadership group, that captain's group, is vitally important. I mean, when you've got Maddison talking about the things that he talks about, and then he's also been talking about Solomon. So Solomon is on the road. So Solomon had an injury, let's say, yeah, for argument's sake. He had an injury. Everyone thought Solomon would be back at the beginning of January. Something's happened and he's had setbacks through this injury and that. And then, he's still not back with the beginning of March. And he's still a few, 3 weeks away because he's only just started training with the first team. But Maddison's put his arm around him and he's come out and made comments that he's made public that have gone viral. Now, I don't agree with social media that much. However, what's then happened is that he's come out with these comments, which a captain would do. So he's bubbled up Solomon to give Solomon kudos, to give Solomon that kind of push that he needs, because it's a lonely place when you're out injured. And he's come out and made all these comments. So it's not just what happens on the pitch, it's what happens off the pitch. And I think that Maddison, Sonny, and Romero off the pitch as well as on it, have stepped up into a captain's group that do a lot off the pitch as well as on the pitch. And by God, you can see a difference in what they're doing um, through the players, through the players' smiles and how the players react and how all the players are and how we are as a group. You know, at the end of the day, we're not going to, you're not going to get all their private conversations shared with us. But if you can look at people's emotions and reactions and their body language, this group for me is doing a lot better than the last group of leadership group that we had at Tottenham Hotspur. And I hope, I don't know, do you think, do you think that's about right, Chris?
I do, and I also think that whenever it comes down to booking the restaurant for the Christmas bash, they might not understand Sonny and Romero as well as someone that actually talks English. That's just a joke, but I think, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think the union between the players, his problems that he had before in his personal life, now that he's totally matured, I think that the way that he's an England international, he's respected for that. I'd like to think he's an important player as well. He does the business on the pitch, which obviously translate into off the pitch as well, as you're saying. It makes for an interesting package as a player, as a person. So that means that that I think that I think he ticks all the boxes, so to speak, to be a very capable and apt captain for Spurs. I mean, why not? From a fan base point of view, wanting a number 10, we've always wanted someone like him, you know. And now we've got the player. Now we've got the person as well. So, I mean, we've ticked the boxes. So I think it's fair. And I did see this comment in the chat. So I would like to say kudos to you, Ugly Fish, for your honesty. You know, because honesty is a very important currency to have. So yeah, clarity as well in your questions. I think it was an unfair question on Madders. Nothing's unfair. Just people are able.
I think it's a fair question that you've asked, Ugly Fish. I think we've given the answer that we think, but then I also understand what you're saying about him wanting to be free, Ugly Fish. I actually think it's something he's been crying out to do, because when he was at Leicester, Vardy was the captain. Vardy took all the plaudits for absolutely everything, you know, that happened at Leicester. And Madison's probably been crying out for something like this, something more senior for him. And I actually think that Madison is happy to be part of Madison's happy to be vice captain and to be part of this leadership group. He feels something for the club. It's got him, you know, it's got him engaged. He's plugged in to the club. He's plugged into the team, to the players. He's plugged into the manager, and I think it works really well for him. But I understand what you're saying about him. But I actually think he wants to step up and do something like this because he probably didn't have the opportunity at Leicester, and now he's got the opportunity to do it. And I think it's something he's embracing. You've got to remember the Madison that we've got compared to the Madison that Leicester first got are two different characters. He's since gone on to become a family man. Your priorities in life kind of change, and I think they've changed. And I think he's welcome taking this on at this stage in his life and career. So it's a fair question to ask. And you know, I'm hopefully we've given you the answers that you're after. And you said here, thank you for answering my questions. Ugly Fish, if you tune into the shows that I'm on, either whether I'm doing my own show here or whether I'm co-hosting on Talk and Ball, you'll always find that we try to answer everybody's questions. And if we're not ultra busy, which my channel is a small channel at the moment, so I'm not going to be ultra busy, we try to answer everybody's comments and give everyone a fair shot at what their thoughts are. So with that, we've come to
my pleasure.
We've come to the end of this show. Chris, I want to thank you very much for coming on with me today, mate. If we're doing a watch along next week, Chris is on for the watch along as well, which got to speak to the others to see whether they're going to do it. But if we're going to do it, then Chris will be on as well next week. Where else can you be found? You're going to be found with me, aren't you?
So me,
Yeah.
I'm going to be found with you.
Yeah, I was
What do
going to say, are you doing anything with Meta Football TV at the moment?
you mean? I'm actually, just as a big update, I'm actually going back to Blighty. I'm going home.
Okay.
On the like for the last 2 weeks of March. So I will be around if anyone wants to say hello or to stab me or to do whatever they want. I'm going back with the family for a couple of weeks. So from here to when I go back home to the UK, I'm not going to be doing much. If you have me on again, I'll be more than happy.
Yeah, no, we'll have you.
And I'll popping up here and there. I'm still busy with footballing, coaching, and that, of course. But Meta Football TV, for those who don't know, is my own show that is on hiatus at the moment due to personal reasons.
But
But it,
put it into the chat, because people can still subscribe to you even though you're on
oh, sure.
hiatus, because you'll still be appearing on with me here at LTL. You still be appearing, I suppose, at Talk and Ball as well. So
Yeah.
until you start doing things, it's nice to still get people come across and look at your content, because you do shorts, you've done shows,
Yeah.
and it's worth people liking, commenting, and even subscribing to you, Chris. So put
Yeah.
it in. You are the head mod, so you can put it in anyway, can't you? So
Yeah. I'll try to. I'm not sure if I can. I'm a bit rusty, but I'll try to.
Ryan G
But
says,
it's
whack the channel in. I'm supporting anyone.
Thank you very much. But it is on hiatus for the time being, as I said, due to personal family reasons. But I should be making a comeback, possibly after my holiday back home in the UK, and that will be like possibly mid-April. So yeah, I should be doing stuff there. My wife is a big supporter of me, of myself, and the football inside of my life. And she wants me to continue with the channel because she thinks that will be good for me, and to teach you all a lesson or something like that, something of the effect, something of that effect. I don't know. That's what she. Or I don't know. Or was it that she wanted to teach me a lesson and that she could have the house to herself? I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I
Right,
can't remember now.
the links in the chat
Oh,
for people. Please come
thank you.
over and sub to Chris at Meta Football TV.
Thank you.
Yes, if
There's
there's no
nothing
gap,
new
it
on
should
it.
be all right. Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
Chris at Meta Football TV, and give him some support. So when he comes up and he's live, you can hit the notification bell. You know when he's going to be on. You may find that you may find Ellie on there. You may find me on there. You may find others on there,
Oh, you
because
will.
Chris,
You're there.
because Chris, when Chris was streaming and I was streaming in our very infant days, we used to have people on and that, and we used to have people to come on and have their say and everything. So I don't think anything's going to change. Chris is going to be the same person. So, but yeah, Chris, thank you very much for being on. Ryan's already subscribed to you. Thank you very much,
Thank
Ryan.
you.
Um,
Thank you.
so tomorrow, I'm not on tomorrow, but Colin will be on Talk and Ball at 4 p.m. I don't think I'm on, but if people want to log in to see Colin tomorrow, please head over to Talk and Ball at 4 o'clock. Talk and Ball will be doing a member show on Tuesday. I don't know what time Colin's sorted to doing it, whether it's a 4 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Last week, Colin did one at 4 and one at 10, so he covered everybody in all the areas of the world. So people, because some people's bedtimes and some people's mornings and some people's evenings, some people's afternoons. So he did two different timings, but I don't know what he's doing on Tuesday. I won't be coming on Tuesday, but the likelihood is the first time I'll be back on will be on Wednesday, and it's probably going to be on Talk and Ball. On Thursday, I will do my mop-up show that I do on Thursday evening, and then Friday's back to predictions again. Although, in saying that, the predictions for this weekend finish tomorrow, so therefore Talk and Ball will have a predictions update show, and it will be on Tuesday. But thank you very much, everyone, for watching us. And we wish you all a pleasant Sunday. And if you haven't done so already, hit the like button on your way out. And we have the song to finish the show. So for me, as always, it's "Come On You Spurs, in hands we trust."
Thank you.
My team has got James Maddison. James Maddison is what we need. Whoa, thank God we got James Maddison. This kid plays ball like you would.